So I just messed with my hair right now, and that song just flew right through my brain.
She said that to me one day, and I was like, you never nothing in Alaska. What are you doing?
What are you guys doing?
I had time.
It was hilarious.
Oh, we're past it.
No, she's on her game. She's pretty funny. We'll give her that.
Past 9:30.
It was so funny, guys. Ready?
Good morning. I call this meeting to order at 9:30. Present is Vice President William Link, Secretary Charles Kirby, Treasurer Deborah Isaacs, and myself constituting a quorum. Also present is the Executive Secretary. Please rise for the invocation, which will be given by Brother Y.J. Jimenez, and remain standing for the reciting of the pledge to the United States and Texas flags.
Would you bow with me? Thank you for this invitation. Our Father God, we thank you, Lord, from the creation of the universe, Father, that, Lord, that you created this place, Lord, in order that, Father, there'd be a haven for those that, Father, would come here. We thank you, Lord, that in your word, that, Father, you said, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth all men liberally. We pray that even right now, that, Father, that, Lord, that you would bring peace to every part of our nation, our country, our county, and our community. May, Father, we listen to the needs that are there. May we hear one another for common solutions. And as we address and, Father, and beseech you for your wisdom, that you would impart that wisdom, and that, Father, that we would be able to work together for a common cause, and that would be for generations to come, that this would be a place of a peaceful haven. And Father, we thank you, Father, that there will be respect, that there be love, and that, Father, that, Lord, in times of disagreement, that we would still respect each other. I pray for the love, and I pray for a continuation, that this would be a place, Lord, that would be such a place that all over the world would see that there is a common good among people and that we're working together. Father, what decisions we make today are not only the legacy that we leave for our children tomorrow. How we plan and how we work together will be leaving a legacy for those and how to be able to lead and guide in the future. So we thank you. Thank you for this board. I thank you for every homeowner here. May we find those common solutions that are very necessary. Father, because I believe we live in the greatest nation in the world. Thank you for the privilege. And we give you thanks and we give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I
I
pledge
pledge
allegiance
allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Brother Y.J. Directors, the minutes from the September 18th, 2019 regular board meeting were provided in your board packets on Friday. Are there any corrections?
I don't have any corrections for the regular meeting, but for the emergency meeting?
We'll get to that in a
Okay.
minute. Mr. Link?
No.
Ms. Isaacs?
No.
Mr. Kirby?
No.
If there are no corrections, all in favor of approving the minutes as distributed, signify by raising your hand. The minutes are approved. Directors, the minutes from the October 3rd, 2019 Emergency Board meeting were provided in your board packets on Friday. Are there any corrections? Mr. Kirby.
First member comment question. I needed that name. I did not catch that member's name. It was a question concerning where the job position might be posted.
Okay. We'll go back and watch the live stream. We can do that. Are there any other corrections that need to be made to that?
I have
Okay. So if there are no further corrections, all in favor of approving the minutes with the addition of the correct name after watching it on the playback, signify by raising your hand. Okay. The minutes are approved.
You will let us all know what that name was.
We will let you know what the name was. Secretary Kirby, do you have a report?
Yes. First item on the report, a petition was brought to the office and to the board. It did not arrive within the 10 days required to put on this meeting's agenda. The board will consider this petition for the November agenda, and it is currently with the association's legal team. The roof update. All the association lacks is for the new roof to be installed on the horse stables in the airport buildings. Delinquencies. The board has buckled down and dug on some of the member account delinquencies. We received 3 reports. They're divided by category. The first one is those members who have not received notification of delinquent status. That is at $102,000. Cases pending that are at pending a collections notice, that is at $120,000. And those that are currently with collections is at $85,000. That's a slightly over a $300,000 delinquencies. We had also received 3 certified letters over the last month. One was from Sandy Hagan requesting information on karaoke purchase in the July 4th events. The second was Stan Metcalf requesting financial documentation, and the third was Bill Herman requesting financials. All 3 replies are forthcoming with responses. That's all I have for the Secretary's report.
Okay. Any questions for the Secretary? Mr. Lynn? Ms. Isaacs? I have no questions either. Ms. Isaacs, do you have a treasurer's report?
Yes, I do. I would like to make one note here that as long as I've ever been here, I have never seen a September financial. September is our final month for our year, which was October through September. So I am very proud that we finally have some September financials. Fort Park Springs Association revenue was $184,400.06. The expenses for September was $168,504.01 for a net profit of $15,769.45. Mind you, these are preliminary figures. All the ones I'm reading are preliminary. The September Los Morris revenue was $5,426.54. Total September expenses was $6,518.88 for a negative of $1,091.85 for the Los Morris Corporation. The physical year for 2019 was revenue was $2,441,720.85. The total expenses was $2,575,845.67 for a net loss of $138,768.86. The Los Morris Corporation for the year revenue was $82,781, and the expenses for the Los Morris for the year was $89,033.24 for a net loss of $6,251.75. And again, these are preliminary figures. I also,
Okay, no, I was gonna ask if anyone had questions about that.
okay.
Mr. Link, do you have any questions about what was just reported?
No.
Mr. Kirby?
No.
I just want to make a note that this board has taken the association from negative $48,352. That's negative $48,352 from April's board meeting to the positive $15,768 being reported today. So we went from negative 48,000 in April to a positive 15,000 in September. This is a result of the board taking control over the association to tame the overspending and to validate where every dollar is being spent. We are very pleased to see these figures turning around. And Ms. Isaacs, you deserve a huge round of applause for all the time you're putting into making that happen.
As of yesterday, we have a preliminary draft of our 2018 audit. We're actually waiting for the certified copy of it from the auditors, but the net loss for the year of 2018 was $401,964. We'll have more information on this when the actual certified copy is sent to us.
In the back, you have the opportunity to get a copy of that, and what you see on that sheet is the fiscal year 2018 on one side and fiscal year 2017 on the other side, so you can compare the two fiscal years and see the differences in what's occurred over the that particular time frame. Are there any questions from Ms. Isaacs? Mr. Lee? Mr. Kirby?
No.
I don't have any either. This month's director on call was also Ms. Isaacs. Do you have a report, ma'am?
I do have a report. First I will do is actually go into what has happened up at the office this month. We have been looking at our motel rooms, and we have several that have been down. One of them's been down for over 3 months. In an effort to do room renovations in-house using our maintenance department, it got gutted, but never got to a point to where we could actually remodel it. The cost of the, we're looking at people to come in and actually do the rooms. Approximately $3,000 in lost revenue has been on this one room. The flooring has been sanded, sealed. The sheetrock on the walls were patched back up, retextured, and painted. The bathroom floor was rotting and the floor was redone, as well as the painting. We will be discussing the motel renovation initiative in new business more in depth. What we're wanting to do is get these rooms back up, and once we get the rooms renovated, then we plan on raising the rates on the rooms some to help make up the difference of what we're spending. We've had staff meetings have commenced weekly. We've started looking at a new website and association management platforms with the goal of starting the new year with a more comprehensive, mobile-friendly website that will allow members to access a member-only portal, as well as guests to book motel reservation and RV spots. And actually also pay your assessments. There was a meeting that was conducted with Sheriff Coe this week to start dialogue on how to combat the drug problem. There's been many instances that are surfacing around the fort, and with individuals who are banned from the fort, who are still getting to enter our property. The bottom line is that the members will be held responsible for the actions of their guests and renters. The rules and regulations that we are updating will have the teeth that our security personnel need to enforce the rules to provide for the protection, preservation, and operation of our property. We also are asking that anybody that calls somebody in or has somebody visit to please call the guard gate, because they may not be able to come into the gate if you do not call in. I can't see with them, I can't see without them. We have had some training with our managers, performing employee feedback with human resources topics. So we're trying to get our managers up to date where they need to be and how to manage their people. This has been well received, by the way. The adult center was closed down to electrical issues. Those have been repaired, and the adult center is operational again. The common property assessment was sent out. To date, we have already received approximately $12,264 for our taxes. The goal is to pay our property tax with a 3% discount this year. As a reminder, the fiscal year we have budgeted to accrue the tax payment in hopes of not having to assess this tax next year. We actually we're setting up an account for that and also our upfront insurance costs. So we hope to have that money there next year without having to dig deeper into some bank accounts. And then just a reminder to everybody, if you have a guest, a contractor, please call them into the security gate because we would hate for them to get denied to come in on the court if you were meeting them or your guests are coming. That's what's happened at the front office this month. Also, as director on call, we have done some training in the accounting department. We are asked the accountant person to actually help us set up some coding so we can look into, instead of just supplies, we can tell what are their office supplies, maintenance supplies, janitorial supplies. It's all supplies, but we're breaking it down to where we know what the supplies are. And we have stressed that with him that our accounts, which is motel, maintenance, security, we're trying to get a better idea of what each department is actually spending and what they're actually bringing in. So we've set up our books. We started our new year October the 1st, and so we hope we have some better accounting and some more ideas with employee cost to each department so we can focus on where our money's coming from, where we need to spend our money, and have a better idea. On September the 21st, I was called about a member over in Unit 38. I was asked if I'd go over and check on that member. The last time I was director on call, I also got a call to go check on that member. They refused any help. Security was there, the ambulance was there. Their neighbors are very worried about this person, and I don't know what else we can do. But I did go check on her. I talked to the ambulance people. Unit 38, I don't know what else we can do. I've gotten a hold of Brad Cole on it. They're trying to figure out what to do with this person and how to best handle it. I've been up to the office to sign checks, which we're also going to try to streamline that. We're going to try to do our checks on Wednesdays instead of 4 or 5 times a week. That gets time consuming to come up here and sign a check. Come up here the next day and sign a check. So we're going to try to streamline this and only sign checks on Wednesdays. Also on September the 24th, I come up here and we also had a training session trying to get our books actually finalized so we can do better accounting on them for this new year. I signed, on the 26th, I signed 4 membership givebacks, 1 recreation, 2 non-performing, and 1 charter. On the 27th, again, I met with the CPA, and I think we pretty much got all of our coding done correctly now. On September the 28th, I went to the golf course. I did not play the tournament, but I was there biggest part of Saturday representing the fort as the director on call and greeted the people that came to that tournament. On October the 2nd, I signed a property settlement agreement on a lot that we had sold. On October the 9th, I met with Gabby and Maria on some issues on how to handle some givebacks. We've decided that each giveback needs to be looked at on its own, not as a group. There's different circumstances with every one of them, so that will be done on a item by item process. On October the 14th, I was called up here to sign some AHSs. That's pretty much all I've done for the night.
Will you clarify AHS, please?
That is when the girls in the accounting office actually add up how many people paid by automatic payments on their bank accounts. And I was just made sure that all the numbers added up as the treasurer.
Thank you. Directors, are there any questions for the director on call? Mr. Lee? Mr. Curtis? No. Nor do I. And just to kind of reiterate, for those of you who do request checks for your respective committees, I know the historical group does, or excuse me, preservation does. Checks are being written out on Wednesdays now. So if you send something in on a Monday or a Friday, you're not going to get it till that Wednesday. So just please keep note of that. We're trying to streamline everything so that we're working smarter, not harder. And Ms. Isaacs has been a very important piece to making that happen. So thank you, ma'am. Now to the committee reports. The airport committee does not have a report. Architecture? No report from architecture. Equine? Oh, I'm sorry, equine is not even in the committee anymore. Golf? No report from golf. Preservation? They did send us one via email. Do you want to read it?
You want to do it?
No.
Bill Peake did send me just an update of what he had. He wasn't going to be here today. Railings for the motel. New bed sheets have gone out for that project. Once he gets all the bids back in, he sent everybody the same bid sheet, so we're actually going to be looking at apples to apples, not apples to oranges. The bids were just everywhere on them. MK Construction has not called him back as of when I got this information from him. He's going to get a hold of Guerrero Brothers. Seminole Hall, David said he should be done with that this week. Linda has submitted the paperwork for the last check as per David, but he cannot get the last check until Philip okays it as the maintenance man from the fort. So Philip has to approve that project. The theater drainage ads will be going out in the paper. We'll wait for the response. That's what all we have.
Great, thank you. Recycling?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We sent a truckload on October 3rd with 44 large cartons and 2 bales of plastic. So we don't get the cost or the invoice until 6 weeks after. So I don't know how we did. The other news is November 9th is the Feast of Sharing in Bracketville, which is a Saturday, and so the recycle center will be closed because so many volunteer. So, any questions?
No, ma'am, thank you. Do you have any questions, Mr. Lane? Kirby? Is that it?
What was that date?
November 9th.
9th.
Does community council have a report? They requested to be on the agenda.
Morning.
Good morning.
We are continuing with movies on the second Saturday of each month. Our last 2 movies were well attended with more than 70 people. Toy Story 4 was sponsored by D&D Hardware. Beginning with our November movie, we will have 2 indoor shows, one at 4 p.m. and one at 7 p.m. Community Council is sponsoring a trails cleanup on October 26th from 9 to 12. If you participate, you will receive a $5 concession stand coupon for the November movie. Please be sure to read Community Council's Facebook page about the most generous donation that was made so we could hire Ryan Alexander to do some of the heavy grass cutting. The Facebook page will also have more details about the scheduled cleanup. Ghostly Tours is coming up for one night only on October 26th. This year we will have 2 stop-offs, one at the Post Theater for a 25-minute movie called Halloween is Grinch Night. The second stop-off is at Unit 1 for a Day of the Dead celebration and explanation of the family altars. We are running a wagon every 20 minutes. Reservations are required and are filling up quickly, so please make your reservations so you won't be disappointed. Community Council will be selling sodas for $1 apiece at the Town Hall meeting on Saturday as a fundraiser for Fort Clark Days. Fort Clark Days Committee will meet again on Monday, October 21st at 6:30 at the Adult Center. Our last meeting, we discussed casino night, and President Perkins suggested we make this a Texas Hold'em event. So we will be having a Texas Hold'em event on Saturday, November 23rd from 7 to 11 with a cover charge of $10 per person. The bar will be open for people to purchase beverages of their choice, and the event is limited to 48 players. This is open to members and members' guests only. A New Year's Eve dance is also in the plans for Digman Hall. The bar will be open to purchase drinks, and the event is limited to 49 members and members' guests only. More on that at a later date. This is respectfully submitted by Allison Watkinson with her favorite reminder: great things can be accomplished as long as you don't care who gets the credit.
Hoo-ah!
That was excellent
Thank you, yeah.
efficiency, I might add.
That was great. Mr. Ling, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Mr. Kirby?
No.
Ms. Isaacs? No. I don't have any questions either. Thank you, Community Council, for that. There is no old or unfinished business that I'm aware of. In new business, the first item is to report a summary of the email votes taken. The board voted to allow Fort Clark Springs Association to enter into a one-year agreement with longtime vendor Burco to provide golf scorecards for the golf course. We had to do that via email. The next action item is to consider revisions to the Fort Clark Springs Association bylaws. There are several areas that require revision, and we're going to discuss those individually. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those notes. The first change that we're proposing is to add term limits to the board, and this was actually in the old bylaws, and it reads as follows: a 1 year time period must elapse before any board member completing a second 3-year term may be reappointed or reelected to the board of directors. It's currently not in our bylaws, but it is something that we should consider. A member is limited to serving a total of 3 terms, 2 regular terms, and 1 appointment. Board, Mr. Link, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, so no different than how I feel about Congress. Everybody in all of these positions should have a term limit. The way this old one was set up, I mean, you could still serve nearly 9 years on the board, assuming that the 1 appointment was for no more than the majority of that 3 years. It's still an awful long time for any one person to have a voice on any board anywhere. So I like the addition of that.
Mr. Kirby?
No, no problem.
Ms. Isaacs?
No.
I don't have any comments either on that one. I'll move on to the next one. On page 5, Article 4, Mr. Link, you had a question about validating felony convictions. I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, so the way the bylaws are currently written, it says that the directors shall not have a felony conviction for a criminal offense or a crime of moral turpitude. And it says this under the qualifications to be a board member. And so my question went, well, did anybody verify that I, in fact, don't have a criminal conviction or a crime of moral turpitude on my record? My guess is nobody did that work. So why I wanted to question this was because we either A, need to come up with a mechanism to do this before somebody is placed on the board, or B, we need to remove it if we're not going to do it.
Very valid. Mr. Kirby?
No comment.
Ms. Isaacs?
No comment.
So in Property Code 209, that's literally the only thing that prohibits you from being on the board. What we can do is we can say in accordance with Property 209 requirements. I mean, we can do that unless we decide we want to leave it.
I would have no issue with that if you want to just defer it back to the property code. That way, if the property code on it were to change, it would update with it.
So instead we could write, shall be in compliance with property code 209, what would that, qualifications.
Sure, that sounds reasonable.
I'm just writing it down. Qualifications. Okay. The next item was Article 4, Paragraph 3, E14, and this is where we had a conflict in the bylaws referring to appointment of a board member. The suggested, let's see. The suggestion is to just defer to property code 209, since if that changes, then that would put us in compliance with property code 209 and prevent us from having to adjust the bylaws yet again. Mr. Link, do you have any comments?
Nope.
Mr. Kirby?
No.
Mrs. Isaacs?
No.
So, the recommendation is to replace that with a vacancy for an unexpired term shall be filled by the remaining board of directors in accordance with Texas Property Code 209.00593, which is the specific paragraph that discusses that. And it's also what we defer to when appointing Mr. Kirby to the board. Are there issues with that? Mr. Kirby?
I have none.
The next one is page 8, Article 4, Paragraph 4, letter G. And this is, again, the second half dealing with the vacancy for a director. It currently states that a vacancy in the board of directors at a time other than an annual meeting shall be filled by the affirmative vote of the remaining members of the board of directors if the vacancy was caused by resignation, death, or incapacity of a former director. The recommendation is to replace it with a vacancy for an unexpired term shall be filled by the remaining board of directors in accordance with Texas Property Code 209.00593 if the vacancy was caused by a resignation, death, or incapacity of the former director. Are there any comments? Mr. Lake?
No, only just that I know that this might seem like the easy way out on this, but the truth is that our bylaws can never be less restrictive than the law. So if Texas Property Code 209 next year were to change to say, now you will fill all board vacancies based on the runner-up from the last election, we would have to go rewrite the bylaws again. That doesn't make any sense. I say we just go forth with what Texas Property Code says.
Mr. Kirby?
No.
I have a question.
Ms. Isaacs? We're not taking questions at this time now.
Does no
Ms.
one
Isaacs?
ever get to speak in here but you all? No one
Once
gets an
again,
opinion
we're
but you
currently
all?
not taking questions.
there is
so
a
we'll be
point in
opportunity
time-
for
I'm
that.
asking, okay.
Ma'am, there is a point in time when members are,
That's what
there's
I'm
up
asking.
to, okay, I'm trying to answer your question. There is a point in time when during action items, we allow 3 members an opportunity to come up and make a 1-minute comment. That'll be after we're done discussing it though.
Ms. Isaacs, do you have anything?
My only question is, are we gonna put some type of guideline in there to the people we will pick or anything? Are there gonna be any guidelines that you're gonna look at?
We can't do anything different than what the property code says. So if the only thing you can be is not a felon, then that's the only thing you can't be. You can be delinquent and be on the board if you're elected or appointed. So I don't know that you need to do that unless you want to.
I was just asking.
Okay.
I want it to be consistent across the board every time we have to appoint somebody, I guess. Not, oh, you're my friend, I want you on here this year. I would like some type of structure of how we pick somebody.
And that can be determined by the board when they're getting ready to do that. The next one is page 9, Article 4, number 16, letter H. And this refers to the executive officer. There will no longer be an executive officer, so we are going to be removing that. Mr. Lane, do you have any questions or comments?
No, only that I hear the comments of the audience, so I'm just going to tell you that we're working on restructuring this. And what we're not going to do is keep doing the same thing that we've been doing. We're going to make a little bit of a change to the way the organizational structure is set up. It's not, the title is not going to be executive officer anymore. I don't know exactly what it's going to be because we haven't finished fleshing that out yet, but can't have something in there to a title that we're no longer going to have.
Mr. Kirby?
No comment.
Ms. Isaacs?
No comment.
Okay. Additionally, paragraph 16.I, same Article 4, recognize that a director's duty is to ensure that the association is well managed, not to manage the association. Mr. Link, this was your input, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, just, again, so it's like language in there that I don't think needs to be in there. The general, or whoever we put, whatever it is, if it's a general manager, even if we end up deciding to reverse course and call it an executive officer, in that person's job description is going to be what they're responsible for. This doesn't require, it's just extra language in here that is just unnecessary.
So you're recommending to have it removed?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kirby?
No comment.
Nothing.
Okay. The next one is on page 11, Article 5, number 3, appointment of subordinate officers. Again, this was Mr. Link's suggestion. I'll give you the floor, sir.
Yeah, so maybe somebody who's been on the board longer than me can clarify this. What subordinate officers are we referring to? Because the way I read this is it looks like I, as a board member, can just appoint anybody as a quote-unquote subordinate officer for anything I want. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay, I hate that idea because that just gives anybody that sits on the board at any point in time the ability to just appoint somebody to do some sort. It's like almost like when Congress appoints a special appointee to do something and there's no rules, regulations, or guidance over what that person can or cannot do. I would like to see that removed because I don't see, as long as I've lived here, I've never been aware of it happening. And all I see for that is the potential for abuse. So I just think it should be taken out.
Mr. Kirby?
No comment.
Ms. Isaacs?
It had happened at one time. We had a second vice president at one time. I don't know what really was the purpose of it, but it did happen once before.
But that individual probably had no vote. Because it's a five-person board.
That was within the board itself. That was within the board itself. It's different.
Oh, so that'd be like appointing Ms. Isaacs to be also your vice
Second
president.
vice president. That's where it is.
That's something you guys feel we really need to keep. That's fine.
I don't have an issue with it.
I don't have an issue with it.
Do you have an issue with
No
doing
issue
that?
with that.
Okay, so we'll keep it. Now, the next one is page 11, Article 5.5, vacancies. Mr. Link, this was your input. So I'll give you
It's the
floor.
same thing. The vacancy for the board was addressed 3 separate times in this document. It needs to only be addressed once to avoid the conflict that we had in the past.
Mr. Kirby, what do you have?
No, I'm good with that.
I don't have nothing.
So you're suggesting we remove it, or we
Yes.
replace it with a third iteration of deferring to Property Code 209?
I'd rather that we addressed it earlier on in the document, so I think for this particular article, just to remove it from there, because it will be already addressed earlier on in the document with the discussed change.
Okay. The next one is on page 12, Article 7, paragraphs 1 and 2, referring to the executive officer. It currently states, duties of the executive officer. The executive officer shall have the authority as granted by the board of directors in the management and the conduct of the normal and day-to-day business and affairs of the association, except for the following, which would need board of director approval. There's 2 recommendations for this. One is to title it management of the association and state the board of directors may employ management to oversee the day-to-day business and affairs of the association. The board of directors will construct, maintain, and amend a position description. Terms of employment are at the discretion of the board of directors and will not be hired under contract. The following limitations requiring board approval, and then letters A through H would be left intact. There's a second recommendation, and it would be appointment of a general manager. The board will construct, maintain, and amend a position description for the title of general manager. The board has the sole authority to appoint a general manager to oversee day-to-day operations of the association as prescribed in the general manager's position description. This appointment will be made by a majority vote of the board of directors. Excuse me. The general manager position is an exempt position with the terms of salary to be determined by the board of directors. General managers will not be hired under contract. So, Mr. Link, I will start with you.
So, all right, so the general manager suggestion is mine. I have really no issue with either version of this. I think they both kind of touch on the same thing, just talking about a difference in semantics for the most part.
Your preference?
I'm fine with going with the general, just generally say employee management. I have no issue with that because frankly then can change the job title as well as the job description. So I have no problem with it being a little more general.
Mr. Kirby?
I think staying general is a good idea.
Okay. Okay.
I also think staying with general.
So when you say that, you're referencing just leaving it as management of the association, or
Yes.
call it general management? Okay. I also do agree that keeping it at the discretion of the board to decide if we're going to employ a manager or if we're going to contract with a management company, because that might be something we decide to do as well. I know we've seen those ideas float around as well. So I think this gives the board that discretion to decide how it needs to be managed.
If that's the case, we need to address this because it says terms of employment are at the discretion of the board of directors and will not be hired under contract. If we're talking about the
Right.
possibility of a management company, then we need to amend that language if we're going to do that.
Do we want to have the possibility of a management company? We've seen what happens when we get into a contract. Several times, not just this once. The contracting piece.
I don't particularly myself have an issue with leaving that open because it's obviously not always going to be up to us, right? I mean, at some point it's going to change to somebody else's responsibility. I don't. It's hard to sit here and chew on this given the present circumstances. However, maybe what we can do is word this to say, instead of changing what's here, because here we're saying we will not hire one person under contract, we could make an addition to say, however, the board of directors could choose at a future date and time to contract with a management company for these services, if you want to add language like that to it.
What do you think, Mr. Kirby?
I like adding the language to have that option. There are no other options at the time.
Ms. Isaac?
Well, I've done a lot of investigation into management companies and the horror stories of where a management company comes in here and tries to manage the company, steal you blind before you actually even know they're stole you blind. The cost of what a management company is going to cost us, I don't think we'll ever see it in my lifetime, but I don't really know that we need to put that in the declarations. I'm sorry.
We're in the bylaws, not the
The
declaration.
bylaws, yes.
What if we add this? So the terms of employment are at the discretion of the board of directors and will not be hired under contract unless the board of directors deems the contract is in the best interest of the association. That way we're not tied to a management company or a person. If the board decides that a contract is in the best interest of the association.
I don't like it because I think we've seen too many examples in the history of this association with hiring a single individual under contract. I would like that amendment to specifically state, if we're going to do this, this is my opinion, that needs to specifically state only if the association decides to contract with a management company, not an individual. I don't know how many
Do you think the members
times.
have a right to choose who manages the board? I think the members should have a say.
Ma'am,
in
this
that.
is not
I
quite
don't
the
care.
time for
I
the,
don't
well,
care.
ma'am, you
I
can
don't
either adhere to the rules of the meeting, or I could ask the security to
y'all
remove
are
you
talking
because
to
this
each
is.
other. You don't give a shit about our opinions.
Excuse
Ma'am,
me, ma'am, you have no right to assume what I do or do not
I
care
have
about.
every
I
right
already
to my
explained to you
opinion.
that there is an action item, 3 member comments, and we have not gotten
That's
there
right,
yet.
for
We're
1
still
minute.
discussing it.
1 minute
That is
for
correct.
3 people.
Absolutely.
What a crock
Okay.
of shit.
So
Ma'am, this is your
is-
last
yes,
opportunity. Could
yeah.
you please allow us to finish working through this? I
Well,
I
you
do
don't
not
give
want
anybody
to
in here
have.
the respect of their opinion.
We haven't
Yeah,
gotten
you're
to the
talking among
point where your
yourselves.
opinion is being allowed. We are going
Well,
to
you want
get
me to
there,
leave?
but we
Be
haven't
glad
gotten
to.
there.
Thank you.
Because my husband was he was president for 4 years on this board, and they had
Ma'am.
respect and they cared about what the people said.
This is a board meeting,
It's
not
a
a
bunch
town
of
hall.
bullshit.
Thank you for your time.
Now, I have an opinion, these people have an opinion, and you don't give a shit about it.
Have a great day, ma'am.
Yeah, kiss my ass.
Unless the board deems a contract with a management company is in the best interest of the association.
I like that wording a lot better personally.
So then it would read, terms of employment are at the discretion of the board of directors and will not be hired under contract unless the board of directors deems a contract with a management company is in the best interest of the association. Sound better?
I like the sound of that.
Mr. Kirby? Ms. Isaacs?
I like that. But I would also like to say that the lawyers years ago had told us that we should not hire anybody under contract. And that came out of our lawyers, Langley and Burnett, back 5-6 years ago.
Yes, ma'am. And then the next article is Article 7, number 2, expectations of the EO. The recommendation is to remove that and instead include that into the position description, job description that would be provided to the employee, or if the board deems it's in the best interest of the association to contract with a management company, then that would be part of that. Mr. Link, any issues with that?
No.
Okay. Mr. Kirby?
Makes sense.
I have nothing.
Okay. And then finally, remove any mention of executive officer and replace with management. And that's throughout the document. Mr. Link?
No, discussed, we're not gonna have that exact job title anymore, so, or if we do, it's not gonna be listed in the bylaws, so we don't need it in there.
Mr. Kirby?
No comment.
Ms. Isaacs?
No comment.
Okay. So just to recap this before I open the floor for more comments. In Article 4, Paragraph 3, an addition will be made to add term limits, and it will say a director shall hold office for the term for which he or she is elected and until his or her successor is elected and qualified. Any director may be removed by a majority vote of the members at either an annual membership meeting or a special meeting held for such purpose, provided such notice of removal proposition shall be given to lot owner members with the notice of such meeting. Term limits, and this is the addition. A 1 year time period must elapse before any board member completing a second 3-year term may be appointed or re-elected to the board of directors. A member is limited to serving a total of 3 terms, 2 regular terms and 1 appointment. So that's the first addition. Then on page 5, paragraph 4, we are going to leave the felony conviction piece. Is that correct? Ms. Shelley?
I have no issue with it. I mean, it's in the property code, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Okay. So that's not going to change. Article 4, paragraph 3, E14. It will be replaced with a vacancy for an unexpired term shall be filled by the remaining board of directors in accordance with Texas Property Code 209.00593. Also, Article 4, paragraph 4.g. Somebody's vibrating. Who is that? No. Oh. It will be replaced with a vacancy for an unexpired term shall be filled by the remaining board of directors in accordance with Texas Property Code 209.00593 if the vacancy was caused by resignation, death, or incapacity of the former director. Article 4, 16, letter H. We are removing that. Article 9, or excuse me, page 9, Article 4, 16.I, we're removing that. Article 5, paragraph 3, we are keeping. Article 5, paragraph 5, vacancies, we are removing. Article 7, paragraph 1 is being amended to read, the board of directors may employ management to oversee the day-to-day business and affairs of the association. The board will construct, maintain, and amend a position description. Terms of employment are at the discretion of the board and will not be hired under contract unless the board deems a contract with a management company is in the best interest of the association. Article 7, number 2, will be removed, and any mention of executive officer will be replaced with management throughout the document. At this time, I will open the floor for 3 member comments up to 1 minute in duration, and I will say this once. We will be professional, we will be courteous, and we will be respectful. And you will get 1 warning, otherwise I will ask you to leave. And if you do not want to leave, we will pause the meeting and we will wait for a deputy from the sheriff's department to come remove you. So please be mindful of all of those things. Thank you. Who is the first person that would like to speak? Ms. Hagan.
Okay, number 1, term limits is not going to fly because the state law says the only restriction that you can place on a member for the board is the felony moral turpitude, and that can only be determined after they sit on the board and it is discovered. It's right out of the law. Okay, so I understand term limits. We used to have them. We changed it back because the law says there are no restrictions on a board member, on somebody who wants to run for the board. Second issue, I hope that you're discussing these with our HOA attorney before you do them. Third thing, please write all this up and post it for the members so that we can actually read what you intend to do. And I agree with Debbie. Management companies, we looked into it and they're more expensive. You would have to increase assessments probably 2 to 3 times for a management company. So please write it up so that we can read it. And the reason we used a contract this time is because, thank you.
Once my comments,
Thank you. Is there another member comment? Ma'am, you had your hand up.
She just answered my question.
Okay. Ms. Hay?
So, just to the point, to making working harder, smarter than harder. In January, you guys made a motion that the executive officer would make recommendations over all governing documents to go to the attorneys. Y'all spent a lot of time kind of going over the bylaws, but you said all government documents. Well, in February, y'all started an ad hoc committee for rules and regulations runners, and then y'all actually approved RV regulations. So what I'm saying is, have y'all heard back from the attorneys over reviewing? So I know we were going to start with the declaration, because the declarations is number 1. And if you guys are wasting your time on bylaws, then we may end up having to redo this all over again if the declarations aren't correct. But that was from January. So I just advise all you guys to kind of go work backwards from your agendas, because there's a lot of things that are on here and approved, but then it never gets addressed again. And then we're back here.
Thank you. Is there a third member comment? Ms. Portland?
On the section on the term limits, when you say upon, if you could say something like upon completion of the second term, 1 year must pass, because I think it's a little confusing the way you read it. So that would just be a suggestion.
Mr. Lang, do you have anything else to add?
No, again, well, to address the one thing that Mrs. Hagan brought up as far as the term limits go, again, the association's rules can be more strict than the law. I do not think there is any legal conflict with applying term limits to our association. Associations make rules above and beyond the property code all the time. They just can't conflict with the property code. We can deconflict that with the lawyers to make sure, but I don't see how that would be a problem.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we did do that with an attorney before we put it.
Mr. Kirby, do you have any comments?
No.
Ms. Isaacs?
She actually didn't say it with the HOA law, she said state law is what she
State
said.
HOA.
HOA, oh,
So do you have any comments?
no.
Okay. Based on the member inputs that were provided, what I would like to propose to the board is that we send a dispatch with the corrections that we intend to make to to the bylaws. And at the same time, I will send an email to confirm that these term limits are not going to be in conflict with the HOA law, Property Code 209. At which point, if it is, we'll identify that in that dispatch, and then we can readdress this either through a special meeting or we can defer it to November. Would anyone have an issue with that?
No.
Mr. Kirby?
No.
No.
Okay. So do I have a motion on the floor to put forth in writing these proposed changes, and also to confirm that there will be no issues with term limits, at which point the board can select to reconvene in special meeting or at the November general meeting to conclude these changes?
I'll make the motion, we do so.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. That motion passes unanimously. The next action item on the agenda is to consider motel renovation initiative. We recently, as Ms. Isaacs has already covered in her director on call report, we recently repaired a motel room that had been gutted over the summer, while maintenance had every intention of taking this project on. However, with the lack of reliable personnel, we had hired 2 people solely to help with this project, and then they quit since the room was gutted. Coupled with us now losing customers to the over-worsening conditions of the rooms, it's time we consider contracting this out. There are 36 rooms left to renovate, and if we do them in 6-room increments, they will all be done within 7 to 8 months. Also, piecing them out will cut down a large payment and can be manageable from the motel income as opposed to taking it from the restricted fund. 3 bids would be procured for the board to consider. This next slide shows what the room looked like on the left and what the room looks like now on the right. What was done to the room was the flooring, which consists of about 3 layers of carpet and then linoleum on top of that, and then underneath, beautiful hardwood floor. That was all taken out. There's wainscoting in the room that was removed, which wound up having sheetrock damage. So the sheetrock repair was accomplished. The room was repainted. New door jambs were put in. We already had 38 doors installed into the motel, so the entrance looks a lot better. And the floor was sanded, polyurethane. The bathroom floor was completely redone, and linoleum floor was put on that. It looks really nice now. We're going to be asking the sewing club, or anybody, if anybody really loves to sew, we're going to be asking the sewing club to donate their time. The fort would provide the material, but for them to sew nice curtains so we can put new curtains in there. And then we're going to be going with a little more modern monochrome look throughout the room. The new bedding will be purchased, which would be this color. And then these are the swatches for the paint that was used, so if anybody wants to come feel that. But we've lost a lot of business because of the rooms in their deplorable condition. So the board, need to act on this. The approval authority lies with us, considering that it is a large expense. And so these bids will be procured. We'll probably be seeing them via email, so we can start talking about them via email unless anyone has an issue with that. But we currently do have some rooms down right now for several issues, and those would be the rooms that we want to start first, the ones that are down. So I'll go ahead and open up the floor for Mr. Link. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, comments and concerns. So I hadn't been in a motel room here until about a week and a half ago when I walked into one, and I got to see the new room, and then I got to see what the old rooms looked like, and frankly, the old room scared me. As I got this action item and I started going through it, I started looking around on like TripAdvisor.com to see what the reviews of our motel were, and it's a little convoluted because Fort Clark Springs has several TripAdvisor.coms. There's the RV park, there's the motel, there's the association itself, and then I think there's one other one, and I don't remember, it might have been the golf course. And they kind of overlap because somebody who came here for the golf course might have put their review on the motel. You get the point. It's kind of all over the place. It's good and bad. There were some very positive things in there. There were some people that had great experiences here. There was a couple people that commented nice things about the 4th of July. There were some people that commented some great things about the hunt, both this year and last year. And there were some very negative comments. Most of the positive comments focused around the amenities here. Most of the negative comments focused on the motel rooms themselves. Bugs, smells. It was a little scary. So, while as our overall reviews on those review websites are still pretty good, what we don't want is to see them start to go down as people continue to have bad experiences. Like when I walked into the old motel room here and saw the 5 layers of flooring on the floor. It's a problem. It needs to be addressed. And if we can do it without having to dig into any of our other funds and just use the profit from the motel every month to do it, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Mr. Kirby, do you have any comments?
No, I think we need to start taking bids and taking action on this.
Ms. Isaacs?
My one question would be, if we do not have the funds out of the motel, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna back off for a while?
That would be something that we discuss. But as of right now, I mean, you just saw September, we were positive $15,000. So we can start funneling some of that money towards that once we see what the cost is gonna actually be.
Well, that was my only question, that we're not gonna pull funds from somewhere else just to make this happen.
Not without board discussion or approval. The other thing I'd like to add is that we reached out to the Historic Preservation Committee to ask them if they would consider doing bids to redo the railing on the second floor of both hotels, and they were amenable to working on that, and that's what that portion of her report was about. So this will be a joint effort. Those railings are very dangerous as well, and so we need to invest into that investment that gives us the income that offsets what we do here. So at this time, I'll open the floor for 3-member comments up to a minute each. Ms. Stephenson?
I'm Pat Stephenson. To know me is to love me. Anyway, on this motel stuff, I suggest one of my favorite comments, work smarter, not harder. When you're buying the bedding, when you're buying this stuff, don't get stuff that has to be dry cleaned. Get stuff that they can easily wash and will wear. I've been in some hotels that I want to throw the cover off on the floor. I'm a nitpicker about cleanliness. Let's clean this place up. And would you accept donations too to help? And if you do get donations, are they going to put in a specific fund and not mingled up with other stuff?
It's a lot of commentary. If someone does want to provide a donation, a financial contribution, yes, we will accept that. And there is a line item specifically for donations. And what we tell anyone providing a donation is to put in the memo exactly what it's for, and that money does go directly to that.
And it will stay there until
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
used?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But give some thought to
Yes, ma'am.
ease of use.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Are there any other member comments? Ms. Watkinson?
Good morning. I've just heard some feedback from some folks making the trip from Houston, San Antonio, Austin, across to Del Rio. And they know that the motel is here, but they can't stop and stay here because it's closed. So if it's a last minute thing, you've got 45-minute more drive. And if you're making a 4 or 5 hour long stretch across and trying to make it back to the base by work on Monday morning. And so what I might recommend is there a way that we can serve individuals who are interested in staying at our hotel, because we are losing that business to the Alibi right now.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Is there a third member comment? Is there a third member comment? Her name is Natanya Watkinson.
Okay.
Is there a third member comment? No? Okay. Mr. Link, do you have anything to add?
No, just the other thing to say that not having dry cleaning be a necessity is a great idea. I think we kind of talked about that, but it is a very good point. And then also, to Ms. Watkinson's point about the stops, yeah, that's the part of what we're addressing with this website that Marie mentioned earlier on, is the ability to make online reservations. And so they will be able to make it from their phone if they have to. We're just not quite there yet. We're trying to get that worked out, and we're trying to have it in place sooner rather than later.
Mr. Kirby, do you have any follow-up?
No.
Ms. Sykes?
No.
Just to quail any thoughts that we're turning away business, we leave empty motel room keys up at the guard shack, so if someone does drive in wanting a motel room, they're able to get a motel room if we have them available. So there's nothing stopping someone from stopping here aside from the fact that they're not turning into the gate. So just to answer that question. Additionally, yes, the things that we're looking at are all machine washable, so that our housekeeping can take care of them and do what they need to do to turn the rooms. So at this time, do I have a motion on the floor to pursue this motel renovation initiative?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we pursue renovating the motel rooms with the plan discussed and with the couple of notes that we made.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Passes unanimously. The motel will get a facelift. Next item on the agenda is to consider a limited access open gate for an event happening February the 8th, 2020. It is for the Blaz Music Band, sponsored by Kinney County Arts Council. This event will be at the Post Theater. It is a venue that will be rented, and this specific band will also be staying at the motel, which will hopefully be in renovated rooms, so they can give good positive reviews on TripAdvisor. Mr. Link, do you have any comments?
No, other than I think we should do as much of this as humanly possible, so I love this idea.
Okay. Mr. Kirby?
No.
Ms. Isaacs?
No.
I don't have anything else either. I'll open the floor for 3-member comments. Seeing as there are none, are there any additional commentary from the board? No? Do I have a motion on the floor to have limited access open gate for this event on February the 8th, 2020?
I'll make the motion that we open our gates for this event on February the 8th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is discussing how we will be filling the board vacancy. This is a discussion item. We have 2 conflicting paragraphs in our bylaws which were discussed earlier in the agenda. And as a result, this board chose to utilize Texas Property Code 209.00593 to utilize that guidance for going forth with an appointment. We will be continuing that guidance unless a board member decides they don't want to do that anymore. Anyone?
Nope, I'm good with it.
No.
Okay. To date, we received 3 submissions, and we did put out a deadline. So if anyone is interested in becoming a person of interest for the board, please send your interest to a board member of your choice by October the 25th, 5 p.m., 1700 for those in military time still. And at which point, I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Isaac so she can state what criteria that she wants to hear. Because you were talking about that earlier, that you want some criteria established. I'm turning the floor over to you, ma'am, for your brevity in that as well.
I would like to see how long you've been a member of Fort Clark, which really means nothing. Want to know what is your goal to be on the board, or purpose to be on the board, and just some general views of how you think things should work.
Okay.
In your actual submission.
So in your submission, please include how long you've lived on the fort, any goals that you have, and your general views of the board. Is that correct?
What their general views of what they want to see as a board member.
Okay, general views of what you want to see as a board member. Mr. Link, do you have any criteria that you would like to add to that?
No, I think that sums it up. I mean, for people that have worked in a business environment, I think what we're looking for is a vision statement. That, if you're familiar with that term, I mean, it's not really a resume. It's kind of more, you can put your qualifications on there if you feel that's applicable. But I think really what we're looking for is what you kind of bring in your terms of your perspective and kind of what you want to see the direction of the association.
Mr. Kirby, do you have anything to add that you'd like?
Nothing additional.
So just to recap, those who are interested, the board would like to know what your goals are, how long you've lived on the fort, any general views that you want to see as a board member, your vision statement, what you'd like to bring to the association, or what you think you can bring to the association. All right. Is there any other discussion on this? Board?
No.
Okay, great. For announcements, on October the 18th, or excuse me, 19th, there will be a town hall meeting here in the boardroom at 9:30. Here is the flow that you can expect. There will be a statement given by the board, at which point, after we've made our statement, we will accept questions. Each member is entitled to one question for up to 2 minutes, and if needed, a follow-up question, but we anticipate there will be quite the attendance, so we want to give everyone an opportunity to ask their question. So unless you absolutely have to ask a follow-up question, we're just going to stick it with one question for up to 2 minutes. If you have a question that's specifically for one board member, please state that up front. What will happen is once you've asked your question, I will ask any board member if they prefer to answer the question, and then if there's anything that needs to be added at the end, I'll add it. The town hall will go to 11:30 unless any board member wants to stick around and take it all by themselves. No. We're looking at having some food trucks out here. They haven't been confirmed yet, but we're going to try to park some out here so that you can go eat something. And we can chat afterwards as well in a non-town hall-like environment. For sure, I know we'll have a funnel cake guy here, and community council's going to sell drinks. So you'll at least be able to get sugared up and have some kind of beverage to wash that funnel cake down with. Also on October 19th is the St. Mary Magdalene end of month golf tournament at 1 o'clock. I believe, actually it's not at 1 o'clock. What time is it at?
I don't know.
We'll send the dispatch out with that again.
I thought it was 8 o'clock.
Oh,
or
what time is it
something.
at? Well, golf didn't give a report.
Registration is 8 a.m. and tee-off is 8:30.
Okay, 8 a.m. Yeah, that would have been helpful with a golf committee meeting or report. But also October 19th is karaoke at Dickman Lounge, starting at 9 o'clock, ending at midnight. I hear the karaoke DJ is pretty funny. I don't know. October 26th is the Ghostly Tours from 7:20 at night to 11:20 in the evening. November 7th, this is new. We're going to be having a canvas paint night. So we've got an instructor coming out from Laughlin Air Force Base who's going to show you how to paint something. It'll be at the Creekside Patio. You'll be able to purchase alcoholic beverages there, wine and beer. It'll be $30 for a member, $35 for a non-member. So that should be a really fun event. It is limited to 30 people, so you'll see a dispatch about that coming out soon. We do have a job opening here at the fort for a non-commissioned security officer. I also want to give a shout out to the member who called with a recommendation for a mechanic. We have since started utilizing that mechanic, and it's working out well so far, so we're very thankful for that. You know who you are. Thank you very much. At this time, do I have a motion on the floor to adjourn to executive session to discuss a member matter?
Question before we adjourn.
Sure.
The security officer position, is that a part-time or full-time position?
Part-time.
Thank you.
So at this time, do I have a motion on the floor to adjourn to executive session to discuss member matter?
Yes, I'll make it a motion that we adjourn to executive session.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor of adjourning to executive session, signify by raising your hand. Okay, we are adjourned to executive session at 10:42.
You need to add a word.
Okay.
You want to know what we want to know. How long you
All right, we reconvene from executive session at 11:01. In executive session, we discussed the member matter where we had 2 members in violation of the rules and regulations. At this time, do I have a motion on the floor to consider assessment individual assessment to both of those members for violation of the rules and regulations.
Yes, I'll make a motion that we do so.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second to impose an individual assessment on 2 members for violation of the rules and regulations, and I have a second. All those in favor of imposing the individual assessment to those members signify by raising your hand. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. The members will be assessed $100 assessment for violation of the rules and regulations. Is there anything that I did not cover in that we discussed in executive session?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, great. As a reminder, this is the contact information for the board. Should you have questions, concerns, any wild desires, please contact a board member of your choice. The director on call for this month will be Mr. Charles Kirby, and Mr. Link will be out of town on a work trip. So Ms. Isaacs, you are the backup. The next regular board meeting is going to be Wednesday, November 20th at 9:30 in the morning in the boardroom, just in time for Turkey Day. Is there anything that I missed?
No.
All right. With that, this meeting is, oh, excuse me, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. This meeting is adjourned at 11:03.
Yes. No, I made the motion. Debbie, second. It's okay, yeah. I had to think about it for a second. You asked me. Wait a minute. No, okay. Yeah, no problem. No, that's easier that way.
So we got some of those badges.